I've been in therapy for years and years and years, and therapy's been great, but it wasn't quite what I needed. I mean, it was like I was in therapy for years and years and years, going over the same old problems over and over and over again. And so when I found Journey to Completion, I was like, I was so excited because I realized that this was, basically a program that could actually help me get to a point where I don't have to be in therapy all the time anymore. And so what I was noticing was happening in my life was, things would be kind of chugging along and things would be going really well in my life. And then right when I would be sort of at a precipice of something important, about to happen, that's when my trauma stuff would really come up and sort of almost like a big wall would come up. And so, it became just extremely frustrating. I wasn't able to get past it. Like, I had started a business and things were going really well. I had won a grant, first prize in this grant competition. I was really proud of that, but I wasn't able to really handle the stress because my trauma wounds were still festering. I am a rape survivor. I was raped in college. It was really traumatic. It was so traumatic that I didn't even realize how bad it was at the time. I never confided in anybody, and I really wasn't even ready to talk about it for years and years. But now, at 41, I finally realized this is something that I really just have to address. And doing it within the context of Journey to Completion has been, I think, probably the best way that I could have done it. Because in a way, it enabled me to kind of get my power back. I mean, a situation like that just leaves you feeling helpless and vulnerable and not good. I mean, really just little. And my self-esteem was just annihilated from that, and I didn't even really realize it. And so being able to sort of be in the group, working on all of this stuff with a supportive cohort of other survivors and people working through their stuff, just made me feel less alone, and it just helped me to process everything. I mean, so many times some of the things that others were processing were actually relatable to my own situation, and so the group was doing some of the work for me, and probably I was helping them with some of their work, and it was just this amazing synergy. One of my traumas is around being like an Arabic person, and in the United States, it's something that we don't even really talk about. There's really not a conversation or a dialogue going right now at this time. I mean, maybe there will be in the future. Maybe it's just starting a little bit, but one of my big traumas was around, being bullied because of my race, really. And it was hard for other people around me to even see it or recognize it for what it really was, because it was something that nobody had ever seen before. I mean, I was raised in a community that was pretty diverse by most standards, but the fact of the matter is, there weren't that many Arabic kids. My dad was from Lebanon. And so I think being able to process that piece of it also was really, really helpful. I mean, it's still kind of hard for me to talk about it, really, because I don't harbor any anger towards, I don't like making generalizations, but I mean, we do live in a culture where, as much as it can be a colorblind, place where we don't see differences, some people do, and that makes a big difference. And so being able to work through that piece of it in a community of diverse people, really also helped drive home the whole importance of diversity for me and just the value of diversity, so that I wasn't dealing with that alone. One of the things that I learned a lot more about doing the Journey to Completion is just the importance of understanding the shadow. And so, what I figured out and what I've learned, and probably what anybody who goes through the program is going to learn, is that when we're kind of in a traumatic situation, or when we're sort of being bullied, or if somebody's putting their stuff out and we're taking it, that's them casting their shadow out and onto me. And in many times in my life, I did experience that, of other people having maybe, being bigoted. I mean, I even had a situation where I was at a family dinner, And my family is Jewish, and we're Arabic, and we're Christians. I mean, we're mixed up, you know. And there was a situation where some of my Jewish family members started making like racial slurs about Arabs at the dinner table. And it was very upsetting to me. And so much so that I lost my sense of myself. I felt small. I felt that I lost my voice. But when I went through and did the reenactments, you know, the part of the shadow work with Journey to Completion, I was able to kind of reclaim my power, and yeah, get the gift out of my own shadow of thinking, well, those, you know, I didn't handle it well in the moment either. I couldn't find my voice, and so what I needed to do was find my voice and to say, like, you know, say something to this relative who, she's a nice lady. I mean, you know, it's not like I hate her or anything, but it was just a very touchy thing. But I think the more that each of us can do our shadow work, the more we can kind of leave the world in better shape. We can lead by example, rather than being led around by people's dark urges, you know, their shadow urges, which I think for leadership, that's really important. And it's just, I think it's making such a big difference in my life. I feel like now when I come up against one of these precipices where there's something important that I need to do, I feel like now maybe I'm going to be able to, you know, not get stuck. And so it's fun to be like an archaeologist and do the big dig and kind of dig down and figure out what's really going on here with these old wounds, you know. And so, yeah, therapy's never been so fun.